Following coverage of the International Livestock Congress at the Calgary Stampede is brought to you by Haney Farms, your canola, corn, and cereal seed experts. We're here on RealAgriculture today with Dr. David Kohl. He is Professor Emeritus with Agricultural Finance and Small Business Management and Entrepreneurship at Virginia Tech. Dr. Kohl, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's great to be with you.
Dr. Kohl, there's a lot of obviously things happening in the global economy, especially as it pertains to agriculture. Rising input costs, or I guess fluctuating input costs, exchange rates very volatile. What are you, as you travel across the world, what are some of the main issues that you are hearing from farmers?
Well, I think one of the main issues is being able to manage the extreme volatility that we have in all sides of agriculture. Right now, as you look at it, livestock agriculture or protein-based agriculture is facing some real challenges out here, where grain agriculture has done very, very well in the past few years. And basically, that was because we were coming off one of 4 super cycles that have occurred in the past century. The super cycle was basically brought on by India and China and the growth of the emerging countries in alternative energy, which really created a boom into the grain agriculture. And but on the other side, the livestock agriculture, the cost of inputs went up, and so right now we kind of got a have or a have-not economy, not only here in Canada, but in the United States, but throughout the world. And one of the things that producers are really grasping on is how to manage this volatility. And I really feel it takes 3 or 4 key types of elements. It takes a really good financial plan. And one of the things is you've got to keep modest amounts of financial leverage, but make sure you have backup cash and backup liquidity. Don't go out there and quote on thin ice. I think another thing it requires is a 3-pronged risk management program. We used to think about risk management just on the revenue side, but it's not only on the revenue side, but it's also on the cost input side and on the interest rate side. It was interesting, Glenn was speaking earlier today about we're going to have low interest rates, and I heard a producer the other day down in Spokane, Washington say, well, I have low interest rates, I'm going to go out and borrow and expand. But I says, it's not the low interest rates, it's your ability to pay that money back. And so again, a 3-pronged risk management program. Also, being an astute business planner. This is a time where a business plan is not an option, it's a requirement. And then the final thing is, I think you have to have a good network of suppliers, you have to have a good network of lenders out there that are going to be stable in these volatile types of times. So that in a nutshell is probably sizing up what I've seen globally. And since the first of the year, I've been in 37 states and 4 Canadian provinces. Yeah. I haven't been outside North America, but that's my perspective. So
as you talked, you made mention of suppliers. So are you seeing the top performing farms? Are they establishing very good business relationship with the supplier, or is it more about supplying with this many units at this low cost?
I think it's a combination, and one of the things is it used to be farmers and ranchers because they were independent. Well, in the future they're going to have to be interdependent. And yes, they are seeking some good deals, some cost efficiencies out there, but they fully realize that they have to be very interdependent upon the suppliers and the agribusiness people. And the suppliers and agribusiness people, on the other hand, have to be more of knowledge-based types of industries, because these producers, if you don't, and if your people at the suppliers don't have that knowledge, then you become basically a commodity. In other words, you're selling the same thing as the other person. So the real key farmers and ranchers out there are really looking for not only some good economic deals, but they're also looking for suppliers and agribusiness firms and individuals that can really provide them knowledge base and information that enhances their business model.
So, obviously you do travel extensively in Canada and the United States. Do you see any differences between the mindset of the farmer or the rancher on either side of the border?
I get that all the time, and I'll challenge people down south of the border that Canadians tend to think more globally. It's real interesting. Up until last year, U.S. producers were just basically thinking domestically, and however, with all the world dynamics, it's really changed their opinions, and it's also changed their views on global economics. But I'll find the Canadian producer, both farm and ranch, will tend to be a little bit more globally aware of global market changes, and in some cases fairly innovative. The U.S. producer, on the other hand, there are some very, very good ones out there, and they're globally astute. And also, one of the things that they do sometimes is try to forge relationships with the Canadian producers for the win-win on both sides of the border. And I think that's one of the things that our politicians, and particularly in the United States, we've got to open up and fully realize we're a North American agricultural economy.
Well, especially as it pertains to the Manitoba-North Dakota relationship, Canada or Alberta, Montana, sure. Northwestern U.S. There's a lot of collaborative trade that happens.
Yes.
It's sometimes not really noticed.
Yeah, and it was interesting. I was in Rapid City, South Dakota yesterday, and one of the bankers there was talking about that collaborative relationships and how they were intertwined with Alberta agriculture, Saskatchewan agriculture, Manitoba agriculture, and so we've got to continue forge those relationships as we go toward 2020.
Well, Dr. Kohl, thank you very much for spending some time with us today, and greatly appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to be with you, and keep up the good work.